have a dirty secret to share with you. I hate fish.
Yes.
And this is a terrible secret to bear because I work in the seafood industry. My job is to promote sustainable seafood. I've been doing it for 5 years. But to me, it's like survival food. Like what you would eat on a deserted island if you needed calories. So how do I reckon with this? It's been a complete struggle for me my whole life, and it doesn't come from a place of judgment like fish are friends, not food. I just wasn't raised with it, and I don't like the taste. So this has been a large struggle for me my whole life. And it's strange to confess because so much of my life has revolved around the ocean. When I grew up, I was in San Diego, and I knew from 3rd grade that I wanted to be a marine biologist, the Holy Grail. Also, growing up in San Diego, I had to tell people that had nothing to do with being in the Marines. So people say, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I just want to be like Jacques Cousteau. Underwater. I know I'm not the only one here. Underwater, right? Like looking out at nature, just marveling at the wonder of it all. But what does that mean for your life? What does that turn into? What does it look like? I really wasn't quite sure. But at the earliest opportunity, I took the basic open water scuba class. So I was 15 years old, the youngest one in the class. And I was thrilled. The pool training was super easy. I had been in the water my whole life. And my instructor was this large man who, when he put on his wetsuit, it looked a lot like the dad from The Incredibles in his super suit. So we all meet at Mission Bay in San Diego for my very first open water dive. And we're getting ready, and we enter the water together as a group. And we're doing our buddy checks, and we put our fins on, and we're like, okay, ready, let's descend together. And we go down. And the bottom is just silt, so it's super dark and murky down there, but I didn't care because I was breathing underwater, and every fish and crab and anemone was a complete wonder to me. So at some point, my instructor waves me over. He's found something interesting. So I move in to take a look, and it's an octopus. You guys are not as excited as I was. It is a soft-bodied, 8-limbed mollusk with kaleidoscopic skin and the ability to use tools, an octopus. Oh my God. So I look at my instructor, I'm just beaming, right? He looks back to the octopus, and then with the speed of a rattlesnake, he grabs it by the tentacles, brings it up over his head, and starts swinging it around like a freshman on spring break who just ripped his t-shirt off on the dance floor. I can feel the color just drain from my face. The octopus is not pleased. It's releasing volumes of blue and black ink into the water column, making it even harder to see. And at some point, the instructor lets go. And this poor creature, with one giant jet propulsion, rockets directly at me. It hits my leg. It grabs on tight. So there's 8 arms encircling my inner thigh. And it's squeezing tightly, tightly, too tight. And I'm panicked. So I roll over onto my back and I bring my knee to my chest. And I want to get it off of my leg, but where do you even touch an octopus? How do you do that? I know there's a beak in there somewhere that can do a lot of damage, but I don't know where it is right now. So I don't know if it lasted 10 seconds or 2 minutes, but to me it felt like a lifetime. And at one point, the octopus was gone, and it was all over. So I sit up, and I look around, and everyone is gone. Just me all alone on the bottom of the bay. So first dive, not going well. So I double down, right? I think it's got to get better than this. So I start training. And as I grow up, I move through the ranks in scuba, right? You've got advanced, you've got rescue, master diver, and finally, research diver. I was going to get paid to do science underwater. Amazing. So I was also volunteering at the time at the Long Marine Lab. Any fans of Long Marine Lab? So I I would get to the lab at 5 a.m. and I would start chopping up squid and capelin and herring and mackerel to feed to pinnipeds, further distancing myself from wanting to eat seafood. So I was there and I overheard there was a dive op and they were in need of a diver. Someone had to bail and the mission was time sensitive and they just needed a warm body in the water for safety. I was 100% in. So my first research dive, I'm just beyond excited. I'm reviewing the protocols in my head. I'm thinking, this is my chance to prove myself and maybe launch my career. And I'm committed. Anybody who knows me in this room knows I'm committed to safety. So I'm committed to being the safest diver possible for my buddy, who is a seasoned veteran at Long Marine Lab, who I can't name because he might be in the room. So we're in the boat. We're in the inflatable. We're speeding towards the site. Our mission is to deploy an ADCP, acoustic Doppler current profiler, which measures the velocity of the current in the water. And it's about the size of a fire hydrant, and it's just about as heavy, so it's got quite some weight to it. So we arrive on site, and my buddy starts putting on his gear. And I start putting on mine, doing the same. And just as I'm still clipping in, he goes, see at the bottom, grabs the ADCP, hugs it tight to his chest, and back rolls off the side. He rockets straight down out of sight, 70 feet. I'm mortified. My buddy is completely out of sight, and I'm not even in the water yet. No buddy check, no communication, no okay, let's go down together. All rules broken, complete, I don't even know what success looks like at this point. So I could not cry on this dive, my first research dive, right? But have you guys ever cried underwater on scuba? Thank you, my people. So it's not a subtle experience. You might think it would be because people can't really hear you. But it actually sounds and feels quite a lot like Darth Vader having a breakdown. It's like this. Yeah, and not only that, but it's also quite visible because with each sob produced, there's a huge explosion of bubbles. And the deep inhale and exhale really affects your buoyancy, so you're kind of like a human yo-yo in the water column. Yeah, it's not subtle. So I didn't cry on my first dive or for my next 500 dives. I really got to live out my childhood dreams. I was getting paid to dive and travel, and I experienced the exuberance of swimming with whale sharks in Baja and stellar sea lions in the Aleutian Islands, and basking sharks right here off Point Pinos. And I became an instructor and ended up helping other divers, other baby divers, through their first diving experiences. And along the way, I learned to live in remote islands and eat like a local, including fish and crab, and I didn't even die. So I moved through marine biology, through island conservation, into what I do now, which is protecting the people that produce and harvest our seafood, uplifting and upholding human and labor rights in seafood supply chains to make a more sustainable world. But I did not fall in love with seafood. I may never, although I do eat some of it now. But I will never fall out of love with the ocean. It's something I want to protect. And we protect what we love and what we understand. And we do that best when we align what we do with who we are. Thank you.